Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Soraya. How are you doing?
Crazy days. Anyways, I'm fine.
Good, good. Well, we just
Totally
got,
melting, but
yeah, it is pretty warm in Southern California.
these days it is. But I digress. Jeff, today's a good day
It is a good day.
because today we're being rejoined by our amazing guest host, Ronnie Barnett of the Muffs.
Yep, who
But
is
Jeff,
he is so good that Steve Wynn wants to take his place. That's
I'm
how
telling you, Ronnie blazed a trail that others wish to walk on. I love it. But Jeff, tell our listeners who our guest is today.
So today we are speaking to Van Christian, who was in the original Green on Red surf
Yeah.
band as the drummer,
Yep.
and then went on to start his own band, Naked Prey.
Naked Prey.
We talked a little bit about this record that Steve put out on our Down There episode. So
Right.
the timing is good because Ronnie's been asking to have Van Christian on for a couple of years, Soraya, and the timing is right now. Having just spoken with Steve Wynn about the Down There releases, and Steve was a fan and put out the first record, so it was really a privilege to talk to Van Christian today.
Absolutely. And um, listeners will also notice there's quite a few links
Yes.
to the Paisley Underground scene in a number of ways. And as you listen to our conversation with Van, who was a great storyteller
Yes.
and an amazing musician in his own right,
Yeah.
you're going to notice exactly how many links there are. So
Yeah.
if you've never heard of Naked Prey, we're glad that today is your first listen. And if you're already aware of the band, well, then you get to just enjoy a conversation with him.
Yes.
And Ronnie.
And with Ronnie too. Yeah. Yeah. So I definitely recommend that you check out the records that Naked Prey put out, by all means. So if you're a fan of Green on Red, I would say that that Naked Prey is definitely right up your alley.
And if you're a Tucson music scene fan, this is an interview to listen to too.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Jeff, I say let's get started.
Let's jump in. Naked or not.
Hi, this is Soraya.
And this is Jeff.
Our podcast is called Paisley Stage Raspberry and Rhyme,
a podcast where the two of us play music that we like and share anecdotes and background about the tunes.
We hope you'll join our conversation. And without further ado, a groovear.
Let's get groovy.
All right, so Jeff, for our listeners, we are rejoined by the one and only Ronnie Barnett of the Muffs, guest host, but more importantly, today joining us, Van Christian from Naked Prey.
Yay! This band.
Show it.
Yes.
Show it.
Van, nice to meet you face to face at last.
Ronnie, look at my shirt, buddy.
Oh my God! What? What?
The coolest shirt ever.
Wow! Thank you for that. I don't have a Naked Prey shirt.
Well, I think we have one somewhere. Maybe I'll find you one.
Okay. Well, you heard that. That got recorded.
So it's official now. It's official.
It's official.
All right. So we got a few questions, Van, and thank you so much for joining us. We recently had Steve Wynn on the show, and we were talking to Steve about his Down There label. But before that, my understanding is there is a connection with Green on Red and Mr. Van Christian. Can we talk about that?
So that's how I actually got to meet Steve. And Green on Red actually was a band here in Tucson called the Surfers, and Serfers. So we started a band when we got out of high school, and I was a drummer for that band. So then we moved to Los Angeles, and that's when we became Green on Red, or sort of they became Green on Red as I exited, sort of a thing. I came back to Tucson, and that's how I was still in touch with all them and was able to get in on the down there thing.
Okay. So
and you and Dan were like childhood friends, right? I remember him once telling me you guys were on like football teams that used to get beat 80-0, like bad teams. And
well, maybe not that bad, but it was like 60-something-0. It was like Pee Wee football.
Okay.
Danny wasn't very good. I was really good though. Danny wasn't very good.
What? So you guys were in grade school together then?
We grew up together. Our dads were both professors at the U of A. I'm not sure if that's even how we met though. We may have met through some sporting thing or high school, well, way before high school, but as kids we met.
Okay. What position were you on that football team, man?
I was actually in the backfield. I was the slowest safety in the league, and Danny was a center.
Oh, okay.
Believe it or not.
Wow.
He hiked the ball.
Yes. Controlling
like,
the action.
Yeah, it was like what do they call it? TYF, Tucson Youth Football. So it was all padded up and like really hard workouts, and it was way more athletic than I was up for.
Nice. And when do you guys discover music? Like as teenagers? What kind of stuff are you listening to?
So then we were at Tucson High, and we both played on the tennis team. We had a group of friends that had a band called the Pedestrians, and that was with Chris Kakavas and Billy Settlemeyer and some other guys. And we would kind of hang around them. And then we wanted to start our own band. So Danny had this old Yamaha guitar, and I still had my drums from when I was a kid. So we started our own band, and that's how we became the Surfers. And then the Pedestrians broke up, and Chris came on board with us.
Okay.
After that.
What now? Did the Surfers play out much at this point? Like in Tucson? Did you get gigs?
I mean,
okay.
We played in Tucson. Bands would come through from Los Angeles and play, and we'd always get the opening spot. So we played a lot of shows here. We really didn't play too much besides that, maybe in Phoenix. And we played in Los Angeles once we moved there. I think we were the Surfers our first few shows. Yeah, when we moved out there, we played at like the Starwood. I think we opened for Berlin.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's like some huge band. It's kind of fuzzy, but I think we were still the Surfers at that point.
Okay. And then you moved back to Tucson, you said. So, were you just not liking not ready, or didn't want to live here?
Yeah, it was not working. Like Danny and I had known each other for so long. I was just not happy with it. So I just came home and started my own band. I started writing songs, and I kind of felt like I was as good as a drummer as I was ever going to be. And those guys were just kind of growing, and I felt like I wasn't. So I split. But they remained great friends. And I ended up actually touring with them quite a bit, just not playing the drums. I would just ride along. Wow. Drummer.
Nice.
So I was still kind of hanging out with them when Alex was a drummer. And then, so I had this demo tape that my friend Hal Gelb had helped me make here in Tucson. And I sent it to Danny. I think I sent a big spliff along with it. He said, he really liked it. And Susie, his girlfriend at the time, said, "You guys should come record. Maybe I can put your record out." So I didn't really have a band, but I got a bunch of guys together and rehearsed the songs and went out there and we recorded them. And while we were recording them, Steve Wynn came into the studio and sat down on the couch and was listening for a while. And he was like, "Well, I'll put your record out right away." So that was good news, And then so he did. That was the Down There record, the first orange one. But I can't sing the song. And what about this place?
call home. If I really had you, I no longer would roam. That's why it hurts. That's why it hurts. It's raining down deep in my soul.
Wow. Was that the third release on Down There?
It was.
I know the Dream Syndicate and Green on Red records had already come out on Down There, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure what else.
I think you're right. I think this was the third release on Down There. Yeah.
Here it is. Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool.
By the way, listeners, take notes. Send a spliff along with your demo, and somebody might pay attention to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good
Definitely
man.
helped.
Yeah.
So you had Dan producing this record, right, Van? So Dan actually.
Yeah, he was there.
So how was he like as a producer?
Well, disruptive, pretty much. And then later, he produced a record of ours, "Kill the Messenger," him and Chuck, and they had done that. I think it was right on the heels of their. What record is it?
This one.
The first one that came out, the one that Jim Dickinson did.
Oh, yeah. I can't think of the title. Yeah, but
I can't either. But they were sure, full of good ideas, and I think that's a really good record. It's one of the records I'm really proud of from, way back then.
yeah,
We did that here. We did that in Paradise Valley up in Phoenix, and Chuck and Dan were both there. And it was a nice big recording studio. We had kind of a little budget, and that was really cool.
yeah. Now that you mention it, I can hear the Dickinson influence on their production on this record. It's got a looser kind of feel, and
Yeah, I think that was Chuck just kind of trying out all the stuff he had maybe learned while he was making his record.
right. Getting back to this one for a second. Now, there's a European version that has more songs. How did that come about?
Well, Enigma picked it up then from down there. So Enigma, I think, picked up all down there stuff, and they wanted a full LP. So we went back into that same studio and recorded, I think, 4 or 5 more songs. So originally it was just the EP, and then we recorded some more songs for it.
Yeah, that studio I see is the Control Center, which was a great studio. We recorded there as well. That was a great little studio in edge of Koreatown. Cool. Yeah.
It's funny. I wasn't really familiar with. Of course, I knew of the Muffs, but hadn't been familiar with them until recently, until after Kim died, actually. And Danny was talking to me about it, and he gave me these CDs. I have 3 CDs here that I listen to all the time, and he gave me this T-shirt. And I think back, at some point during the whole evolution of Naked Prey or whatever, there was this guy that worked for Elektra Records, I guess, and he said, we're gonna get you guys a deal on Elektra and this and that, and there's another band, the Pandoras, that we might sign, blah blah blah. And I didn't think anything of it until later when I was, became a Muffs fan, and Danny told me, well, I think Kim was one of the original Pandoras. Is that true?
Yeah, not original, but she was early on. After the first record, they had 2 bass players before her, but she was there for the golden age. Yeah.
End up on Elektra Records.
Yeah, they made a record for Elektra and it got dropped before it came out, so it never came out.
No, that's no good.
Their A&R guy got fired. Yeah. So
that guy got fired.
Yeah.
Steve Prof.
Yes. He signed Pandoras and Jet Boy, and
man,
they fired him, and both those records didn't come out on Elektra. Jet Boy ended up coming out on MCA, but Pandora's record still has never come out. It's a good record. It should actually come out.
Terrible.
Yeah, but
he's been on something forever. I mean, it was ridiculous. I think back on it, I feel ridiculous.
Well, no, it's fine. All good.
Yeah.
But yeah, look at it that way. If you had signed with Steve Frost and Elektra, you would have got dropped too. And
Yeah, probably never would have put another record out ever.
exactly.
Yeah.
Can we move on to this record? I have a couple things to say about this record. So this is the next record, Under the Blue Marlin. So Soraya and I have talked about connections with Paisley Underground. We love to talk about Paisley Underground, and Naked Prey does come up sometimes in conversations about the Paisley Underground. There are some connections. We've talked about Steve Wynn, the Down There label. So this was released on Frontier Records, who put out some records by the 3 o'clock. How did you guys come to sign with Lisa and Frontier?
So, well, through the Down There thing, Enigma put out, they took over the record and distributed it or whatever. And then they said, well, we'd like to sign your guys' band, which was great, but the contract was for 8 records. And that, at that point, it seemed like so much to me. I don't think I've made 8 records in my life. So I was thinking that's a lot of records, But other than that, I'd love to sign with them. But so Lisa from Frontier kind of got interested, but she certainly wasn't interested in any kind of bidding war or anything like that. She was just sort of, look, I'll put your record out. We can renegotiate after 2 or something like that. And that sounded much more reasonable to me.
Okay.
And so I kind of lost the connection with the Enigma, which later on I kind of wished I'd kept. But those things happened, and Lisa was great, and she that was the first record we put out on Frontier, that Under the Blue Marlin, and we ended up doing a couple more for her as well.
Yeah, I will say that this cover, I don't know if you'd like to hear this, but it kind of reminds me of Gravity Talks kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Was that intentional?
Which one is first? I guess theirs was first. Huh?
It does have that kind of vibe too. And then this is produced by Paul B. Cutler, who ended up playing with Dream Syndicate. So another connection.
And he ended up it was a strange thing. He ended up producing my record, Jumbo's Shine Box, which was kind of a Van Christian record, but it was called Naked Prey. And it came out on Fundamental. It was kind of like after I had the band No More, and I was just writing songs. I wanted to make a record. He produced that for me at the Control Center again. It was just the 2 of us. It was really fun.
Wow.
And Paul was great. And he's a Phoenix guy originally.
That's right.
I didn't know
That's
that.
right.
Oh.
Yeah. Big Arizona connection. Yeah.
Here's another weird thing. So at some point in my life, I ended up doing a couple years in prison for a marijuana charge, trafficking. So when you get out, you have to go to a halfway house, right? You can't just go home. So I'm living at this halfway house, and there's this old Native American guy that was in there, I think for DUIs or something. And he had a guitar, and he wrote these really cool songs, kind of hokey folk songs. And he told me he was in bands all his life, So this happens, that happens. Several months later, maybe a year later, I get a phone call that he had died.
Wow.
So I was kind of close with the guy. So I drive up to Safford for his funeral. And they had all these pictures, 8x10s and flyers and stuff. And they had his guitar there and all these things. And I was looking at one of these 8x10s, and it's like a rock band from the 70s. And there's Paul in the band with an SG on, with really long hair and like a black skinny tie. I was like, that is such a trip. I always wondered how much what this guy said was fiction and what was real, but then I realized at that moment it was all real, you know.
It makes sense if you hear Paul. I mean, Paul's playing, which I'm glad you bring that up because I want to talk about the guitar player in Naked Prey, David Seeger. I mean, I mean, his playing is this record sounds huge, and his playing is such a big part of the band, and you can tell. I might be wrong with this assessment, but it seems like he's a guy that came out of a rock background like that too.
Yeah, and that's kind of how we got together. He was a childhood friend of mine. You know, we grew up as little kids together, and he had played with Billy and the Pedestrians and stuff. And then he was playing with Giant Sand, the first incarnation of, the Giant Sandworms, the first incarnation of Giant Sand. So the guy that wrote the songs and sang played a lot of guitar too. So Dave was sort of, you know, relegated to just kind of playing rhythm stuff. And when I started writing songs, he came and started playing guitar with me. And I told him that you can play whatever you want. You can play everything because I don't know how to play the guitar, you know. So that was inviting to him. He played everything. Most of the rhythm guitar on those early records is him also.
Okay.
Although I might say my name, it's actually him playing the guitar. And he's an amazing talent. And you know, whatever little success we did have, definitely he's responsible for a lot of that.
Nice. Did he go on after Naked Prey to do anything musical, or is he still around?
Yeah, he's around.
Okay.
He has his own, you know, he paints houses. Him and his brothers had a painting business, but then he has a band. If you ever find a band, I'm trying to think of the name of them right now, and I think it's Underbelly, so he made a couple records with Rich Hopkins from the Sand Rubies.
Okay, yeah.
I can't think of the name of his band right now, and it's horrible, but he put some records out on a German label.
Okay.
Him and John Benet, which is another guy that's played with me on and off. So yeah, he went on to make some pretty cool music.
Okay.
Besides Naked Prey.
I mean, this lineup stayed together for quite a while.
That's the main one.
Yeah. Like, did you start touring the? I don't remember you guys. I grew up in Houston. I don't remember Naked Prey playing Houston. Did you guys do much touring, like starting with this record?
I know we played Dallas, but I don't think we played Houston.
Yeah. So, was there much touring over the year?
The whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, we were touring the whole time. We toured behind the Orange record with a different drummer. But once Larkins joined, I guess the main tour we did was the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly tour for Frontier, with the Pontiac Brothers and Thin White Rope.
Okay.
And it was called the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It was like 3 bands on the road together. And it was, a lot of people say, oh yeah, I saw that tour. But I don't remember really many people come to see it at all, but apparently a lot of people did. It's funny how that works.
Who was the Ugly band on that bill?
Probably definitely the Pontiac Brothers, I think.
Great.
I guess Ward moved to Polynesia somewhere.
Oh, that's right. I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
He came to Tucson not long ago, and he was looking for houses to buy just before all this pandemic thing happened.
Okay.
And he was looking for houses on the east side. He married a girl over there and has a little baby. Pretty cool.
Nice.
Before we move on from this record, Van, I have a question about the credits. So your legal representation as Stephen Piucci, any relation to Matt?
His brother.
Okay, I figured that.
It's Matt's brother.
So
and of course that's how we got him through Matt.
Okay. So,
because we just needed somebody to look over the contract.
Yeah.
And he went back and forth with them a little bit about just some little things, but I think everything was pretty much on the up and up, you know. Who knows? Now I wish I would have read that thing a little closer with all the streaming thing and all that crap, you know.
Oh.
It's like we're left out in the cold. I think the Spotify and all those people made some kind of deal with the record labels long before we even knew there would be a thing.
Yep.
And the artist kind of got left out of it a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I think nobody saw that coming.
No.
Yeah.
So, hey, those contracts are impossible to read, man. Don't feel bad.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's why you got to hire a Stephen Piucci, right? Yeah.
Things like the world and forever. And it's like, yeah, once it says that, you're screwed.
Right. But then it's like, you got to get the record out somehow. That's why bands end up in these bad deals, right?
Yeah.
Your only option.
People aren't in this business for the money. That's for sure. At least that's not the way it starts.
Yeah. All right.
So then we go to this one, right? The second and last on Frontier, 40 Miles Nowhere.
Lights on the highway, shot by me like an engine train. But I can hear the shrieking of coyotes in my brain. 40 miles to nowhere, we're living on a long lost prayer. But I can smell the fire in the air. The sidewinder left the trail, and I feel like I can ride forever. I'm never gonna let you die. Just let me reach in to your soul. The only thing that never lies.
Yeah, I guess that was the last one on Frontier.
Yeah.
Now that's Danny's dog on the cover of that record, and that's a big field here in Tucson that is now just for as far as you can see in that picture is like really overpriced barrio housing, like really fancy houses.
Oh wow, yeah.
But back then it was just like next to downtown, this huge field with a grain elevator in it.
The dog casts quite a shadow here.
It does, man. It casts a huge shadow.
And then on the back, we have a very glamorous band photo taken by my friend Greg Allen.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, great.
Oh, I was going to talk about that picture that you mentioned on Under the Blue Marlin that looks like Gravity Talks.
Yes.
That was taken by a guy named John Scarpati.
Yes.
Who was kind of a fancy photographer. I think he went on, he did some work for Penthouse and other things, but really cool guy. And he drove out here on his own dime to do that photo shoot. And he was standing in the middle of a patch of cactus when he took that picture. So
oh wow.
I don't know what happened to him or where he is, but I gotta give it up to that guy. He was definitely dedicated to his craft.
Yeah, he did a lot of work during that. He did the Red Cross Neurotica album cover as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he was around doing some good work then. Yeah, the Under the Blue Marlin cover is wonderful.
And I don't think he had seen the Gravity Talks cover.
Yeah.
Or not. But I kind of doubt it. I think it's just a coincidence.
Just one of those weird naked prey green on red symmetry things, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but you go a different direction with this cover. This is a great cover as well. And another great album.
And we did that cover. The only video we ever shot was for that album. And we shot some of it out in that field and that grain elevator and stuff. It was for Frontier, and the song on the record is "I'm Coming Home."
Okay.
That the video is to, it wasn't a big dollar video, but it was like our crack at getting on 120 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it did though. It never got on anything, but it got on some local stuff around here, and the guys that did it were local guys from around here, so I guess that's fitting.
Nice.
But as far as that record, the way it sounds and stuff, it sounds pretty big, and that's this guy Randy Burns, who I think he might even got a Grammy for the first Megadeth record.
Wow.
Mm.
He produced the first Megadeth record, and I don't know how Lisa found the guy, but she did, and I wanted someone else to produce it. I forget who, but she really wanted him, so we ended up going with him, and he certainly knew what he was doing. He had a certain thing he wanted to achieve, and I think he did as well as he could have.
Wow. Yeah. So that would have been after his Megadeth record then, making this.
Yeah,
record.
after for sure.
Wow. Interesting.
So
The
Maybe
Megadeth
Burns.
Naked Prey connection, everybody.
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you can definitely hear that, like that record to me, that 40 Miles from Nowhere.
Yeah.
It sounds a little Pink Floydy. Like I think he was kind of getting into trying to achieve that sound as a young producer or whatever. But we did some rhythm tracks up in LA at a place called El Dorado. But then I wanted to record in the studio in Nogales, Arizona, which is right on the border of Mexico. And it was just this it was this big fancy studio that had a really impressive spec sheet, but none of the equipment worked or was even hooked up or plugged in or properly, incorporated with the recording studio. So when we got down there, we just realized it's just a room with all this expensive equipment in it. And he had to set all that stuff up. He was not happy about it.
Yeah.
He was on his knees calibrating the machine and just cursing the whole time. And it took us most of our studio time to set up their studio. And so he was in a bad mood the whole time. So then we got finished there and he wanted to go back to LA. We went back to LA to El Dorado. And then he said, you know what? Maybe I did have a handle on it down there in Mexico. I want to go back to Mexico. So when we came back to finish the record again. So in other words, that sounds, humorous, but it's horrible for Lisa. Something like that is a huge thing for her budget.
Right.
It didn't do any good with our relationship, her and I either, Some financial problems, she was losing money on us basically.
Yeah. So yeah, is that what leads to the you leaving Frontier? All that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we were overseas and everybody had a return plane flight, but me. I didn't have a return plane ticket. So I basically was homeless in London for like almost a month.
Wow.
And the booking agent, which was just a cricket as hell, called Lisa and kept calling her and calling her. And she was like, I'm out of it. But then finally she put it on her credit card, my return flight home. And then we had a few discussions after that, but it was over. I mean, she got done wrong.
Yeah.
By them, by several different people,
Yeah.
If I could do it to her now, I would tell her there's no hard feelings and sorry for my part in it, whatever. But so that was that for that. Then we went on to Fundamental.
Yeah.
But really, it was the end of Naked Prey. Anything I did after that, I did without David Seeger. Tommy Larkins was still my drummer.
Yeah.
But once Dave left, there really wasn't Naked Prey anymore, and I should have started calling it something else or by my own name.
Right. He is still on this record, the first Fundamental.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's all over that.
Yeah.
Now Reiner plays, another guy from town. Reiner plays on that record too, but Dave's also all on it. We were all together on that one.
So Ronnie, I know you're gonna hate this because I like to make everything about me. But
here we go.
I like to say, Van, that you and I were label mates because I was in a band called White Glove Test. We put out a record on Fundamental. I think your catalog Save 71, I think.
Wow.
For Kill the Messenger. And we were you were Save 73, we were Save 81. So we're about eight catalog numbers off from
after us.
Yeah. So yeah, after you. So we were pretty much on the label at the same time.
And what's the name of the band?
White Glove Test. I'm
gonna definitely check it out. Now, Lightning Hopkins put some records out on that label.
Oh.
Which was I would point out to people every chance I could.
Yeah.
When we signed with the label. That was the coolest thing to me about him, that he had actually put out a couple of records of Lightning Hopkins.
Yeah, I always thought Fundamental was a European label, but I see they were based in Georgia. So
no, when I met him, he might be in Georgia now, but he was
I think that's what it says.
Oxford, Mississippi.
Oh.
Okay.
I see Sonia for a second. So he was from Mississippi, all those blues guys, like, Possum Records and all that stuff.
Yeah. So,
I'm not sure if he was involved with them or anything, but he was definitely a character.
so did you get approached pretty quickly from Fundamental, like after you
No.
left Frontier? That happened?
Not at all. We were so lucky. We had this manager, this British guy that looked like the singer from The Who, Roger Daltrey. He looked just like that guy. And Lisa was saying, I'm going to want to hear some really good demos. They're going to have to basically, like, you're going to have to talk me into this. Like, and he was like, oh, we'll get a better deal easy. So I was like, yeah, I get a better deal easy, go. So somehow he came up with this guy, and the guy coughed up a lot of money for that Kill the Messenger record.
Wow.
The biggest budget we had ever had.
Oh,
I don't care, rains or freezes, long as I got my lasting Jesus sitting on the dashboard of my car. Comes in colors, pink and pleasant, glows in the dark cause it's iridescent. Take it with you when you travel far.
So of course I was like, who needs Frontier? We're off to the races. But so it goes to show you that, like, I would have loved to stay on Frontier at that point, and have no budget, because that record came out and they gave us a nice big recording budget, but he wasn't really interested in the band very much.
Mm.
And then we put a live record out on that same label.
yes.
I think that was it for that.
This one.
That was a wrap for. Yep, there it is.
Yeah.
And if it's all the same to you, I hope your dreams, they all come true. And you will fly above the clouds and sing your song so clear and loud. I'll never go away. Oh no, I'm here to stay. I'm gonna be your friend right up until the bitter end.
Make It Pray live in Tucson, and I did that for fun. And then that was it. The only record I put out. Oh no, I did put Jumbo Shinebox out on that label. That's an 83 record most people don't know about. It's without Dave.
Yes.
And then I did a record in the late 90s for Epiphany Records, which was the guy that owns Zia Records, Brad Singer.
Oh.
And that's a really good record. It's very glammy, kind of. And that's with John Bonet playing guitar, the guy that Dave Seeger started a band with when he left Naked Prey.
Oh,
Interesting.
So those guys had a band called Underbelly. That's the name of their band.
Okay.
So if you had a chance to check it out, look it out.
Yeah.
Look up Underbelly or on YouTube or something, and I forget the German label that they were on, but they did 3 or 4 records for some label. Definitely, if you like Dave's guitar playing,
Yeah.
you get a fistful of it on those records for sure.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So after these 2 later Naked Prey records in the 90s, you retired.
That was
as
it.
the name. Yeah.
Yeah, but I made a record a few years ago, I guess a lot of years ago by now, that came out about 2013 called Party of One, Van Christian.
It looks like you're the last to go of all the things I've lost. For you, I would burn every bridge I've ever crossed. When I was lost, somehow you knew you reached right through the darkness. Pulled me to you. Now you're in my heart. And it burns.
And it's a really, I'm really proud of that record. And I'm trying to make a record right now with Bill Elm from Friends of D. Martinez, which was another thing I did after Naked Prey. I was a drummer and started that band and named it and everything. And then they went on we got a deal on Sub Pop.
Yeah.
He went on to make a lot of records, Bill did. So he's in town again now. He's trying to help me make my record.
Okay. Interesting, Van. These bands that you start, that you play drums in, go on to, Green on Red, Friends of D. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I play drums for you, you'll probably fire me soon, but you might do something.
Take note, all you bands out there. Get Van as
Yeah.
your drummer.
So are you saying that we may be hearing new music from Van Christian shortly?
I hope so. I'm always trying to make a record. So anytime anyone's ever talked to me, probably in the past 20 years, I probably said, well, I'm making a record, so I'm always trying to make a record.
Right.
Sometime I'll get one out. Yeah, you might come your way, I hope.
So are you writing songs? Is that what's happening? Do you always have songs in your head, or?
Well, yeah, I've always got songs in my head, and I just enjoy making records. It's been fun for me,
Well, we
Yeah.
enjoy listening to them. That's for sure.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you guys having me on the show. I'm kind of an outlier of the Paisley Underground, but I'm definitely a fan of the Paisley Underground.
Right.
My friends, I root for them all the time, and it so happens that I think they make really great music too.
Yeah.
Chuck and Danny, anything Chuck and Danny have done on their own, I really love, and obviously I love the Green on Red stuff, and
Yeah.
I appreciate being included a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm guessing you're a fan of Chris Kakavas too, because you pulled him in for this one. So.
Oh yeah, how can you not be a fan of Chris Kakavas?
Agreed. Soraya,
He's amazing.
are we on the?
Absolutely.
We're on the Chris
Oh.
Kakavas love boat, aren't we?
Absolutely.
I love, there's a Steve Wynn quote about Chris that I love to say, that he said Chris had the best voice out of anybody. He's the best singer out of all of us.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's
he's a great singer. He was
absolutely.
he was always the best musician out of everybody too. He's the one that you would ask if you had a musical question.
Right.
He would be the go-to guy.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he taught himself to play piano. I remember him playing his piano at his mother's house. So we went to high school together too, Chris and I and
Yeah.
Danny. At his mother's house, there was this upright piano, and the first time he sat down on it, he started playing some Brian Eno thing that I had heard before, but completely different. And he just amazed. I had no idea. It was amazing,
Wow.
Yeah.
So it just comes naturally. It sounds like.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
And his voice is just very soothing and honest, and a more thoughtful guy. I mean, you won't meet. He's really,
Yeah.
he's a good person also,
Agreed.
He's way too talented, that bastard.
Yeah.
Hey, Soraya. So we were talking earlier about your thoughts about Naked Prey, and when you listen to him, did you want to tell Vanna a little bit about what you were saying earlier to me offline, when you listened to the band, like how it made you feel?
Oh, all I was telling Jeff is probably what Ronnie and many other people have said before. I just really like the band, and it's a really good. I read a description that it said it's like country rock, but no. This is like a completely different sound, or at least the description I think fails it. It's a really good solid sound, and absolutely I can hear Green on Red, Naked Prey, and a few other bands, and just absolutely understand the thread that runs through it. And I have to tell you, Van, we have a listener that a couple of months ago, he sent us, and I hope no one gets mad, but I'm not going to name him, but we had a listener send us a bunch of CDs of live shows of Naked Prey.
Wow.
And he just said, this is just my gift to you because I love Naked Prey. And I remember telling Jeff, this is pretty amazing, but also it shows you, man, how appreciative fans are of the music that you put out and what people really still believe about Naked Prey.
Well, thank you.
Like a little treasure, and they want to share it.
That's really nice, and I appreciate that. And I will say, I found that to be true too. Like, we never had a huge following or achieved much success, but I do hear from people occasionally, and the people that I do hear from are really super. The people that like the band really love the band,
Absolutely.
There's a few of them that there were, or whatever. We never had any. We had some pretty successful European tours, but still marginal. Never achieved any huge success, but there would be a pocket of people, a handful of people that would have a story about something or this or that, or the band meant something to them in some way, and hey, I'll take it. It's it's not nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, so I have to ask, where did the name come from? How did you come up with the name?
And that's the biggest problem with this band is that name, and it's a terrible name. And what happened was, I was watching the movie, literally on like local Channel 11 KZAZ TV on like a Friday afternoon, and I remember I think I even had Steve on the phone, and he was like, "Dude, you need to name your band like now." And that movie was Naked Prey, and so I named the band that. I was a blank. Yeah. And I had been a blank like for months on it. I just hadn't thought of a name. I always, I go by there's two kinds of band names: stupid and really stupid. True. And so I just named it Naked Prey, and it just stuck. But when I hear that name, to me it doesn't match the band, and it sounds ridiculous. But you kind of become the name of your band rather than the name of your band becomes you, I think.
Yeah. And I think with Naked Prey, one thing that makes it difficult is if you try to Google it, you're going to get the book, you're going to get the movie. What are you going to get?
You're going to get that movie, that Cornel Wilde movie, which is a great movie, and it has very little dialogue in it. It kind of keeps you in a hypnotic state. If you ever have a chance to watch that movie, it's pretty cool. But then there's some guy who wrote a book too, I think John Stafford or something.
Right.
Like one of these, like a James Patterson type book. Yeah. So that's unfortunate.
Ronnie, we know what happens when people misinterpret band names, don't we?
I was gonna say you're gonna get some naked photos with Naked Prey, and then be careful doing a search for my band's name too.
Yeah.
Right on.
It's hard to think of a band name, right, man? I mean, it is because
yeah, people
it's there forever. Yeah, it's a hard decision.
I named the Friends of Dean Martin. I named that band, and I named some other people's bands too, but it's hard to think of a name for your own band.
Yes.
Friends of Dean Martin is a great band name.
Yeah, and then it turned into Friends of Dean Martinez because the Dean Martin people weren't down.
Yeah. Nice. That's a good story too. Well, Van, I've been trying to get these two to have you on the show for years now, so I'm glad this finally happened. And
Well, I can't thank you enough. Both Jeffrey and Sonia, thank you guys so much. And Ronnie, as soon as I started following your Facebook page, I always look forward to seeing what you're up to, man. I hope I meet you someday.
oh, thanks, man. Yeah, me too. I love Tucson. So the Muffs
Come
never
see
played
us.
there, but I was there with my ex-wife's band a few times at that Congress, Club Congress.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, if you come see us, we'll book a gig and have a big jamboree, man.
sounds good. That's reason enough to go. It's not
There you
that
go.
far. It's not that far to go to Tucson.
8 hours
Yeah.
in the car.
You hear that, Jeff and Soraya? Let's go.
Oh
You
yeah.
guys have-
Oh no,
you guys-
Jeff and I are all for the road trip. Don't worry about it.
Come on.
All
We'd
for
love
the
it.
road trip.
Let's do this.
I would love that.
Yeah, let's do this.
All right.
All right.
There's a
well,
Whataburger outside of Phoenix. It'd be perfect.
Yeah, there's a Whataburger right by my house too, obviously.
Oh my God. Oh my
I
God.
go there
You
too
sealed
much.
the deal.
Yeah. I'm from Texas, so I love Whataburger. Yeah. So
Oh,
Well, Van, we appreciate. Hopefully, we will see you in Tucson before too long.
yeah.
Hey, hopefully, and you got a new fan. I'll be listening in all the time. So thanks for having me.
Great.
Thank you very much.
I'll be in
We
touch,
will.
man. I'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks, Ronnie.
All right, buddy.
bye.
Bye, you guys.
All right. Bye
Bye,
bye.
everybody.
Well, how you like them apples, Ronnie Barnett?
Yeah, I know. Look at me staying on. You guys
No,
mad?
no, no, but how cool is that? to
No, no,
talk
no.
about-
Absolutely. No, Van. I knew Van would be a cool guy in person. And like he said, we've been friends online for a while, and you know, he's always very cool. And yeah, of course, Van's cool in person. Great. Glad to get those football stories out of him.
What I love is him referring to Dan Stewart as Danny. It's so endearing. But you know, it was this one quote that he said. He goes, "My friends, I root for them all the time." And Jeff and I keep talking about this, how within this music scene of this one moment in time in LA,
Yeah.
It seems to be this real friendship, or this at least rooting for one another, that I think is just something that is heartwarming. You know, time passes, but people still think and hold each other.
Yeah. No,
in high
and you go ahead. I was gonna say, yeah, the names that like filter through Naked Prey's career, you know, Paul Cutler and Steve Wynn and Dan Stewart, you know, and even, you know, Hal Gelb from Giant Sand, and you know, all these great music people, Lisa Fancher, you know, it was very vibrant. It was a great scene, and everybody was, I'm sure there were some people that weren't pulling for some people, but you know, for the most part, you're right. It was a very supportive scene, and you know, sure all these bands played together many times, and yeah, just wonderful. And it's a good thing you guys are here to document this. Thank you.
Hey, thank God that we listen, Jeff,
Yeah.
to Ronnie Barnett.
The Ronnie
Wow.
suggestion. Yes. Yeah.
And thanks for
Because,
having me along to interview my childhood musical heroes every now and then. So
Hey,
I appreciate it.
you teach us all the time.
I hope I don't
Um,
talk too much. So
You're fine. You're fine. Okay, so I have to ask you, Ronnie, then. Naked
Yeah.
Prey, which is the album that you prefer of the releases?
Under the Blue Marlin, that would be their definitive is the wrong word, but you know what I mean. That's going to be the record that's a record that defines them. The whole sound, the whole, you know, it sounds better. The songs, you know, it's a stronger set of songs, I think. You know, you could just hear the band had momentum at that point, and they laid it all out there on that record. And, you know, the sound, Paul Cutler's production is a big part of that too, you know, of that record. But yeah, that's the one. And that's the one that, you know, got most of the attention. I remember there were promo posters for that record, and, you know, it got reviewed everywhere. And, you know, that's how I didn't live here, here being Southern California at the time, you know, I had to pick up and read about these things. And yeah, Naked Prey got a lot of press alongside all those bands. So And then the cover. I mean, yeah, it's you know.
It's a
Yeah.
cool cover, and knowing that the photographer was standing in a field of cacti,
Yeah.
shooting that, you know, for those of you listening who've never been to Arizona, much less to Tucson, or as my relatives say, Tucson, it's a neat landscape,
Yeah.
and with cool natural spaces. And then it was kind of a bummer to see on Kill the Messengers that, on 40 miles from nowhere.
Yep.
Yeah, 40 miles from nowhere, where he said, see that field? Yeah, no, now it's a bunch of housing.
Right.
As far back as you can see.
Yeah, and I just love the fact that there's this constant link in all these albums back to Dan Stewart, Chris Gakovitz, or Chuck, as he's kindly said, Chuck Prophet. But it's just really, the songs on Under the Blue Marlin are really, really good.
Yeah.
All of them. I was listening before we started recording, and I just kept going, how did this band just not do more, or how did I not hear of them more? How did it take me so long to find them? But after hearing Van's stories, you go, okay, well, it was just kind of how it played out. But the music is really good.
Yeah.
The music is really good. Stands alone.
No.
And from drummer to guitarist,
Maybe guitarist.
Yeah.
I don't know.
As he said, I don't know anything about it. But,
Yeah.
Definitely a front man and songwriter. Yeah.
I think he meant it first, because like when he, gave up the drums, started writing songs, he probably didn't feel confident in his playing, and especially when you get in a studio situation, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
So you're just gonna be like, you know what, he can knock this out quick, But I'm like Van, he made his way, he got better, That's just how, Anyway,
yeah,
I made no sense right there, but you know what I'm trying to get across.
Yeah.
we get it. I know.
I get it.
We feel you. We feel you.
Well,
Yeah.
Ronnie, thank you so much for suggesting that and coming on to help us through this. We really appreciate
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me along, and I'm glad it finally happened. And
it. Yes.
yeah. All right, y'all.
We got
It's
some more
awesome.
ideas.
Thank you. And also, how cool is that the band was wearing a Muff shirt?
I
Super
know.
cool.
I know.
That he got from Danny.
That he got from Danny, who gave him the shirt and 3 CDs.
I sent it to I once posted my green on red shirt, and Dan wrote me and was like, "Where's my Muff shirt?" And I sent him that, and I only had like an extra large, and I remember him saying like, "I think it's too big for me. I'm gonna give it to a friend of mine." I didn't know it was Van.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, great to see
That
him wear
is
it.
cool.
Great to hear him
Oh.
say nice thing. I never try to insert my own personal band in these things, when we're interviewing somebody, but
Yeah, Jeff.
I do that.
Jeff's got no problem doing that, but he's one of the hosts.
Yeah, and we weren't the Muffs, so there's that.
Yeah. I'm just guessing here. I'm playing the Steve Wynn role. So
I think that's the best way to end it then. So,
Yeah.
Jeff, everyone, mi gente, a grubiar.
Move on, Paisley people. Ronnie?
yes.
So I'm amazed that I was able to actually get it together to do this thing. Technically, I was almost going to give up.
No.
But they'll understand because I've never done this before, and it's just frustrating the hell out of me.
Oh,
But at the last minute, it came through. I'm so happy.
You did it.
All good.
And
All
we're
good.
so appreciative. Thank you so much.
yeah,
Thank you, Sonia.
we appreciate it.
Trying to get a look at your apartment, like your house, and stuff behind you.
Oh,
All kinds of goodies.
Soraya, Yeah. Oh, me?
Yeah,
Well, no,
Here's Jeffrey.
I like looking at Ronnie's stuff. He's got all this cool stuff. I just have boxes.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at Ronnie's too. And Jeffrey's looks like you and Jeffrey's looks like before and after.